In our competitive business world, customer satisfaction is the heartbeat that sustains growth and success. One metric that has gained widespread recognition for measuring customer loyalty and satisfaction is the Net Promoter Score. However, key to success in using NPS as a tool is understanding its calculation methodology, as well as the benchmarking process. In this quick podcast, we take a deep dive into unlocking business success with the Net Promoter Score. Let's listen now.
Welcome everyone to the podcast. I'm Janice Kleins, Marketing Manager for AOE, and today I'm joined by Bryce Barker, Director of Association Management Services, and we are discussing unlocking your business's success with the Net Promoter Score. Welcome, Bryce. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Janice. Thanks for having me.
So let's get started and dive right in. So in your blog, which is Unlocking Business Success with the Net Promoter Score. It's on our website for everyone to read. In your blog, you mentioned that customer satisfaction is the heartbeat that sustains growth and success. Can you tell our audience why the Net Promoter Score has gained widespread recognition?
Yeah, definitely. So the Net Promoter Score, or NPS, has definitely gained widespread recognition. I personally think due to the simplicity of it. So NPS is designed to measure customer loyalty and satisfaction, all by asking just one single question, which is, how likely is it that you would recommend our company, product, or service to a friend or colleague? So customers answer on a scale from 0 to 10, with 0 being least likely and 10 being the most likely. So based on the responses, customers are then broken into 3 different categories. There's promoters, passives, and detractors. Promoters are customers who answered in the 9 to 10 range, are likely to recommend your business, and can also contribute to attracting new customers via word of mouth and positive affirmation. Passives are anyone who answered on the 7 to 8 range, are content but less committed customers who would switch to a competitor if a superior offer arises. And then you have your detractors, which are anyone on the 0 to 6 range, who are known dissatisfied customers capable of negatively impacting your business's reputation and growth through word of mouth. So personally, and we'll kind of dive deeper into what all that means, but I think it's just because of the simplicity of it, just the one question, a 0 to 10 scale. It doesn't get much easier than that.
Okay. So how do you score or calculate the NPS?
Yeah, so NPS is a simple equation. So Net Promoter Score equals percentage of promoters minus percentage of detractors. So just a quick breakdown, if you had 10% detractors, 20% passives, and 70% promoters, you would take the 70% promoters minus the 10% detractors for an NPS of 60%. So simple equation.
Okay. And what type of score should an organization want to get? Meaning, like, what is considered a good score?
Yeah, so NPS scores can range anywhere from a negative 100 to positive 100. So there's a wide range, but definitely anything under 0 indicates that you have some serious issues to address. I personally would say anything between 0 to 30, although it seems low, is considered favorable. So this indicates positive customer interactions, and then the higher you go up, so anything above 30 shows your company is doing well, has a higher number of satisfied customers compared to dissatisfied. And then if you go even further, so anything above 70 signifies strong customer affection. So the higher the NPS, the higher the customer satisfaction, leading to new leads, increased revenue for your company. But personally, I think anything, although a 0, 0 seems low, you can always go down to negative 100. So I think anything between the 0 to 30 range is considered favorable to start.
Okay. Now that you've explained what an NPS score is and what it is considered a good score, what do we do with that information? What should our audience do with it?
Yeah, so it's important to consider once you have your NPS, there's definitely a lot of follow-up steps after you get that. And it's important to understand your NPS to assess your customer satisfaction. So a couple things I would recommend once you have your NPS is first compare your scores with the average scores within your industry, as well as against your competitors to see where you fall. So I think that's a good start, is just comparing it against the industry, against your competitors, to see where you may be falling either below or above them. You're also going to want to compare your scores within a region, as NPS doesn't only vary by industry, but also geographical area. And then it's also important to use your NPS as your own benchmark. So your goal is obviously to improve your NPS over time. So focus on comparing against your own scores. And I recommend doing your NPS probably every 3 to 6 months to see what's changed, obviously with the goal to improve your NPS. But to really follow those steps, I think most importantly, you need to compare against your competitors / industry, but also against yourself to see where you're falling behind in the future once you do another NPS round.
Okay. So let's say my organization got a low score. How do I improve it? How do I get that score up?
Yeah. So if an organization receives a low NPS, you first definitely want to identify the underlying issues and unveil the specific pain points. So pain points could be anything from high member rates, slow response time from emails getting sent back. So those are just some pain points that could bring an NPS score down. Once you've identified those pain points, you must gain the feedback from your customers to identify the root cause and then most importantly, take action. So the only way to improve on your NPS is to act on it. So you want to make sure that you are not, although detractors are not helping your company or organization right now, you want to make sure you're not ignoring them. And as a reminder, a detractor is someone who's a dissatisfied customer who could negatively impact your organization by word of mouth. So you definitely want to make sure you get in front of your detractors, make sure that they're aware that you are taking their feedback into consideration and also present them with a practical solution that could change their perception. So making sure they understand that you are acting on their the score that they provided. On the other hand, you also want to engage with your promoters. So those are the satisfied customers who would recommend your business and understand what stands out to them so you can continue to grow on those expectations and to meet those expectations. So really diving into the people who aren't satisfied and understanding why they're not satisfied, where we can improve, but also don't forget about your promoters. Even though they're satisfied customers, you want to see what could, what's making their expectations so high and continue to grow on that.
Well, that's good information. So should a business or organization rely solely on their NPS score for measurement?
Yeah, that's a good question. So NPS, as I said, it's just a great, simple tool to measure customer satisfaction. But NPS really only tells a small part of the story. And I personally don't think organizations should rely solely on this tool for evaluating customer experience. I think if you aren't taking the necessary steps, the follow-up steps, engaging with your detractors, connecting with your promoters, your NPS doesn't really do you any good. So you need to make sure you're asking those engaging questions to really understand your customers and then to understand your NPS as a whole. So the real value of NPS lies in implementing the changes and driving improvement based on those scores. So I think there's a lot more to it than just obtaining your NPS score and saying I got a 60% NPS. That won't do you any good. You really need to make sure you are following those steps to make a difference in the end.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and go over the Net Promoter Score. For our audience, feel free to look on our website and read the entire blog, aoeteam.com. Once again, the blog is Unlocking Business Success with Net Promoter Score. Thanks, Bryce. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope this session provides value, and we hope you will join us for our next podcast.